This is the tips video for the EMU Trifold Brochure. Because this is such a complex product, my first tip for you is to make use of the Save My Job button at the bottom. After you've done some work on this product by filling out many of these custom fields, you want to click Save My Job so that you don't lose your changes if you walk away from your computer for a long time, and so that you can continue working on it later. Next, make sure you change the job name and make it more descriptive for what you're doing. This product is divided up into 6 panels. Panel 1 is the front panel, panels 2, 3, and 4 are on the inside, and then panel 5 and 6 are on the outside again. Just like the postcard product, this product allows you to customize the images on the panels. You can select from gallery, or you can upload your own file. It's much easier to use an image from the gallery, because the gallery images are already the right proportions and the right resolution for high-res printing. If you choose to upload your own file, beware that you'll need to make your file almost exactly 1200 pixels wide in this case by 1680 tall. The pixel dimensions for all of the photos for all of the panels are listed in the respective panels. You might need to have a software like Photoshop on your computer in order to open up the pictures that you'd like to use and make sure that they're the right pixel dimensions. If they're not, you might have to change the resolution or use the cropping tools in order to get them to these dimensions. You can always try this, and if it doesn't work out, just select from gallery later and replace the file that you uploaded if you don't like the way it looks. I've gone ahead and filled out most of these fields for this demonstration already. One thing you'll want to take note of is that there are a couple fields that are required, like this one. Headline text on panel 2 is required. Also on panel 5 there's a required headline text field. If you don't fill these out, what will happen is you'll get a big yellow exclamation point on your preview telling you that you did not fill out one of the required fields. Let's look at the preview for what I've done so far. I hit update preview already, and here's my preview. Let's open the full-size preview now. Everything is looking pretty good so far. Let's go to page 2. One thing I want to point out to you is how text flows from panel to panel. I don't have any text on here yet, but if I did put some text, it would come into here by uploading a Word 2003 document. The system is automatically programmed to flow your text from panel 2 onto panel 3 if it needs to, and also all the way to panel 4 if it needs to. So text can flow from panel to panel, but there's a way that you can prevent it from flowing also if you don't want that to happen. To prevent the text from flowing, what you do is use a header on that panel. Header text like prohibited items on panel 3 or special access on panel 4. When the system sees that you've put in a header, it tells the previous panel to shrink the file down to fit on that one panel and not to let it overflow onto the next panel. But that requires that you have another Word file for that panel that you want to use. So in this case, because I'm using 3 headers, I would need a Word file for panel 2, panel 3, and panel 4. That's going to require some experimentation with your Word files, because you might like it to flow from one panel to another, or if it just doesn't look right to you, you might want to break up your Word files manually into separate panels so that you can get it to look exactly the way you want. On the front, panel 5 doesn't have the ability to overflow onto panel 6 because there's no space for that on panel 6. Here's an example of a Word 2003 document that I've created, and I've uploaded it onto panel 2. But because I have a heading on panel 3, it's not allowed to overflow, and it's getting shrunk down way too small to be readable. I need to get rid of this heading here on panel 3 to let it flow over. I can also choose to remove any of these photos here to make more space available for text. Here you can see that I've gone ahead and removed the heading on panel 3 to let it flow, and I've also removed the photo on panel 2 to give myself more room. Now it looks pretty good, and I can live with this. Now all I need to do is get some text for panel 4 through a Word 2003 document upload. It's important that you use Word 2003 format because no other Word format will work. If you've got a newer version of Word, just save your file down to the 2003.doc format. I've done a good amount of work on this so far, so I want to remind you to do the Save My Job option to make sure you don't lose all the work you've done. When you do that, you'll automatically be brought to the Save Jobs area, and you can continue working on your job by hitting Open Job. In this example, we're letting text from panel 2 overflow onto panel 3. That means that we don't need to do an upload a file for panel 3 because the text from panel 2 is filling in that area. However, please note that if you did upload a file to panel 3, it would not show up because you need to have the header in order to have that file show up for that panel. Something that you upload for a panel will only show up on that panel specifically if you use the headline. Otherwise, it will overflow from the previous panels. Next, let's talk about the panel 6 address area on the bottom half of panel 6 right here. The controls for this are in here, where you can fill out a university name, address, and phone numbers, and so forth. You can use the fields you need here, and don't use the fields that you don't need. They're not all required. But note that in the phone number field, you have to type in, if you choose to use a phone number, you have to type in 10 straight digits, like I've got shown here. That's because the storefront will automatically format that number into the standard EMU format, which is to put a dot here and here. You don't have to put that dot in. The storefront will do that automatically. If you do include symbols in here, you might get an error, so just use 10 straight digits or leave the field blank. You can also choose to use a department logo at the bottom of panel 6. You just take a logo that you have already on your computer and upload it if you have it. After you've done this, if you decide you don't want to have that logo at all, you can choose Remove Department Logo, Yes. So the end result for panel 6 should look something like this in your full-size preview. You'll have your address fields that you've chosen to use here, and then you'll have your logo down here if you choose to use one. This brochure looks pretty complete now. I have everything I need, and remember that you can remove these photos if you need to. Really, the only reason for removing a photo is to make more room available for text. Now that I've proofread and carefully looked at this high-definition preview, I can close it and go down here and choose to either save my job, which I recommend you doing because this is such a complex project, or click Next to add the product to your shopping cart. There's other videos in our storefront that teach you how to manage products in your shopping cart and how to complete the ordering process. So please go ahead and go into our YouTube channel and watch those videos too. Thanks for watching.